Welcome back to another episode of the Purpose Babe Show. I'm your host, Corie Clark. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you, and I am so excited about today's episode because it is one of my dearest, closest friends for over 30 years. We've been friends since junior high, and she's just one of the most amazing women I know. But before we jump into that, I must say I'm having a little bit of a hard time adjusting to life here in Tennessee. We had some tornado did not hit this last week, but it was like our first experience where it was like everything on the news. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have, water and flashlights and blankets. And I was a little bit nervous. But the storm was insane and lots of hail, but no tornado. Praise the Lord. I know there was tornadoes in Alabama, and so just praying for everybody there that was affected by that. And I'm just having to learn how to get used to this. In fact, there's like another severe thunderstorm going right now. It's kept us awake all morning, and it's fun and it's pretty to see all the lightning, but it's just very interesting. I am definitely missing the palm trees and the ocean, dealing with this like funky cough that I'm really not sure if it's allergies or like if I have something. This is just, I'm just letting you know. I'm sure this is boring you to death, but this is what I'm dealing with right now. And I'm definitely missing California. I'm not missing the lockdown and the craziness there and the expenses there, but I am missing the weather and the beach. So I think it's time for a trip to Florida. And my guest would agree because she is a beach lover as well, but had moved to, she's in Pennsylvania now. So anyways, oh well, this is where I am, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm embracing it, and learning how to deal with tornado warnings. So we now have like blankets. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess you wrap yourself in a blanket to protect yourself. And water, flashlights, first aid kit. It's all like sitting in my downstairs bathroom because that's where our like safe place is in this house. Hilarious. I guess I can move it, but sometimes these things can just sneak up on you. So like, what do I do? If you live in this kind of tornado territory, let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram and let me know how you handle it, because I don't, obviously I want to be prepared and I don't want to be anxious or worry though. And the funny thing is that's exactly what Kerstin and I talk about today is, waiting for something and not worrying while we're waiting. So not everybody's waiting for a tornado, but I kind of feel like I am. Anyways, also we have my friend Sheila and I. So Sheila was on a couple weeks ago, and she and I are hosting a standout brand workshop. So we just opened the doors to that. We have early bird pricing until this Friday. So the workshop is going to be a live virtual workshop. It's going to be on April 6th. And if you can't attend live, no worries. We'll have the recordings, but we're doing a live Q&A. So it's going to be really fun to attend live. Our early bird pricing, like I said, ends Friday. So go to CorieClark.com/workshop and save your seat. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to be doing the first hour focusing on your brand identity and how to find your secret sauce and how to really set yourself apart from your competitors and from everybody else in this online space. And then Sheila is going to be teaching on how to speak about your brand and your business in a way that really attracts those ideal customers and clients, help you understand to know what to say, how to say it, like whether it's online, on your social media, or whether it's in person. She is just an expert in that. And so we are combining our expertise in creating this amazing workshop. So go to CorieClark.com/workshop. Alrighty. I want to introduce you to my beautiful, amazing, talented, wise friend, Kerstin. Okay, Kerstin Lindquist is a mom of 3 and an author of multiple books, including Where's My Crown for Acting Like Everything is Fine, a guide to royally surviving life's waiting periods. She's an award-winning broadcast news journalist and a host at QVC. Kerstin and her family split seasons between the Delaware Shore and Westchester, Pennsylvania. They spend their free time in warm climates, preferably with sand. I'm with you, girl. Give me that sand. Give me that salt water. I'm a happy girl. All right, you guys, please meet my friend Kerstin. All right, you guys, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Kerstin. Kerstin, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I'm so happy. We have to do this more so we can see each other more.
I know. Please, please. Oh my gosh. Kerstin and I have been friends for, I don't even know how many years. Way too many years. Since junior high.
Junior high, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, where my daughter is now, and which is crazy.
I know. I want to say that was only like 10 years ago, but I know it wasn't.
I think the big thing was what hit me is when your children started, because your children are a little bit older than me, you got the head start on it. And I think when your children hit the same age as you and I, when we knew each other, that's when I was like, wow.
I know. Isn't that crazy? And Morgan just turned 19.
I saw that. You know who I thought it was? Your sister.
Oh, how funny.
I know. I was like, it's her sister. Oh my goodness, that's her daughter. It's cool.
Yes, I know. And 19, I was 19 when I got married.
You were 19 when you got married.
I was 19. So then it's like when Morgan turned 19, we're like, oh my gosh, she could be getting married. That's crazy. I'm not old enough to have a married child.
No, you're not.
Oh, but my children are at that age. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, Kerstin, I would love if you would share. Now you have we would have to talk for like 7 days straight to share your whole story. But I would love if you could give some background to you, your story, because then I do want to get into the books you've written and how amazing you are, because I know you're going to help so many women today.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Well, I connect to what you're doing so much, Corie, because you talk, obviously about purpose, which is so, so important. And I've taken your courses and read your book and your planner, which is like life giving.
Oh, thank you.
Purpose is such, and it wasn't always a big part of my life, but I think the path that I've been on has really helped me drill down my purpose, which is making faith come alive in others. So, and I read some statistic about how people who know their purpose increase their life expectancy by like at least 8 years and things like that. And I think it's so important when somebody asks you, what's your purpose in life? And people will go, well, I don't know. And like you've said before, it changes from time to time, right? And it can expand. But I'm really very clear on it is making faith come alive in others and helping people find that. And faith can be a lot of different things. For me, it's Jesus 100%, but it can be that hope and joy and peace and all of that. So I didn't know that 15 years ago when my journey through infertility and adoption started. I just knew that I was in a lot of pain, not being able to have babies and losing pregnancies and losing adoptions and things like that. So as we started to go through that, I started to write. And again, we're old, Corie, not that old, but back then, blogs weren't a big thing. And I had, for ABC News in San Diego, I had the first successful blog on their website about, and it was about my journey, because we did end up having a very not traditional pregnancy, and then a second one, and going through adoption and infertility. And so in order to connect with my viewers who didn't understand why I was pregnant, and then I had maternity leave, and then I came back, and then I was maternity leave again, I started writing. And that's kind of what turned into my first book, 5 Months Apart, which is a story of adoption and infertility and faith, and giving yourself grace and those around you who might understand what's going on with you. Because I think I know for sure you and I in our lives, Corie, and I'm sure so many people out there have had people in their life who have gone through infertility, miscarriages, adoption, and you don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know how to react. And so that kind of started as a guidebook for me, for them,
Mm-hmm.
and myself as well, to really
Yeah.
get it onto paper.
Yeah. I'm so thankful for your book. I mean, I wish it was written before you were going through all that, but it's so true because I remember talking with you when you were going through that, and it's like I really didn't know what to say. And honestly, because I mean, we share the same faith, I did have faith that you were going to have children, you know what I mean? And so it's like I wanted to express that, but not in an insensitive way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's so hard. It's so hard, but your book is so good.
Thank you.
And it's such a great tool. I think anybody should read it, whether you have struggled with infertility or not, for exactly that reason.
Right. No, and it is a lot about loss. I mean, that whole book starts out with the woman by the well. I mean, and me talking to a pastor and asking him why I'm so angry at God, and how I can be angry at God and still be a good Christian. And I think that so many people go through that, and it doesn't have to be, surrounding miscarriage or infertility. It can be loss. It can be loss of a job. It can be illness. I mean, we go through that, and understanding that it's okay to have those feelings. The problem, so to speak, comes when you decide you're just going to walk away, and you're not even going to have the conversation with Jesus anymore. You are going to shut down. And it's okay to be angry as long as you keep communicating with him, because that's what he needs. And what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that book started. And now, I look around, and it is, I celebrate. I mean, we have, Meghan Markle talking about her miscarriage. We have people coming out, Jamie Kern-Lima talking about it in her newest book. I mean, people making miscarriage and making non-traditional family making not so full of shame anymore. And that's so good where we have come. And I continue to encourage women to share their story and talk to others about it, because there's healing in that.
Definitely. So explain really quick, because some people might not have caught on to the whole 5 months apart. Why is your book called 5 Months Apart?
Right. So the title of the book is 5 Months Apart, a story of infertility, faith, and grace. What ended up, spoiler alert, if you want to mute so you can go read the book, is I ended up getting pregnant about a month after we matched with an adoption. So we had miscarriages. We had gone through infertility treatments that didn't work. We had decided to adopt, which was always on the table for us, because my brother's adopted and my sister-in-law are adopted. So it's always been a big part of our life. But we got matched with a birth mother who was 4 months along. And then the next month, our last chance infertility treatment worked. And so our babies ended up being born 5 months apart, daughters, who are both now 11. They're in that time of the year where they're both 11 years old.
Aw, yay. That was such a fun time and so crazy.
I was going to say fun time.
Well, I mean, I know.
2 babies, being pregnant and having an infant. I mean, I look back and I would do it all again, but
yeah,
crazy.
It was fun for me to watch from the outside. It was so fun for me to watch, but such a blessing. I love your kids so much. I just saw the other day our pictures from when I came to San Diego, and Grace and Georgia were so little and just loving on the kids and on my kids. They're just so cute.
The pictures I just saw were when you visited us when we were living in Mexico.
Oh,
remember that?
yes.
Place that we should have just bought and all.
You should have. You should have. I might have gone down there instead of to Franklin if you were there.
Just to let you all in, what happened is before I left ABC News and came to QVC on the East Coast, we took a sabbatical of 2 months, and we went and lived and actually served at a missions down in Ensenada. But the house we lived in was the most beautiful beach house in the entire world.
Yes.
Corie came to visit, and I had 2 1-year-olds at the time. And one of my big takeaways from that time, and I was just looking at pictures of that the other day, but I remember my one daughter, the younger daughter, thought that you were my adopted daughter's birth mom. And so
Oh.
every time I talk about Corie, it's always like, oh, is that the girl that Georgia thought was Grace's Beema? We call him. And I said, yes. Not
Oh
funny.
my gosh. That is so funny. I don't think I knew that. Did I know that? Was she saying it there?
No, after, like after,
Oh, okay.
or like right like you showed up and she pulled me aside and she's like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
that's Grace's Beema. I was like, no, babe, that's not Grace's Beema.
Oh my gosh. And now your kids are so old and they probably don't even know who I am anymore. It's so crazy.
They are so
Oh, and side note, Kirsten and I, how many walks did we do together?
two, right? We did two,
Two or three?
maybe three.
Or two?
I saw that picture the other day too. I have a portal. Do you guys all have a portal? You should get a portal, and you can like link to old Facebook albums, and like the one from the 3 day walk popped up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did the 3 day walk. I guess maybe it was twice. I was thinking it was three times, but we did the 3 day walk and it's 60 miles in 3 days. And
It's the best experience, except for when you break your foot. Like,
yes. But I'm glad I did it because we have all those memories.
I have been trying to get Corie to do it again since then.
I
And
have
our
no desire.
I'm
I
like,
will
let's do it again.
I will stand on the side of the road with a bottle of champagne so that when you walk by you can have a drink.
That was part of it. Part of it was kind of a booze trail.
Yes. Yes.
A little bit of drinking in those 60 miles.
Yes.
That
It's
was
like
kind
a
of a cause.
yeah. Like a booze cruise except you're walking 60 miles.
In a lot of pain.
Oh my gosh. So all of that, all of your waiting led to your next book. So tell us about your next book. And because I do feel like it can apply to, well, like I said before, your other book honestly can apply to anyone because I think people might assume that because either they don't have kids or they don't want kids or they don't struggle with infertility, they don't need to read it. But I do think everybody should read it. But this next book is so applicable to everyone, especially women these days, especially after the year that we all just had, which you wrote it before we had this year. So you didn't even know how needed your book was going to be.
I said, and I know a lot of you out there are writers. And I said after I wrote the first book and I'm never writing a book again. I am done. People would ask me, I'm like, no. But I also read something the other day about how the reason that we write and the reason that you continue to write and so do I is because there's so much that has to get out. Like the words have to have some place to go. And I truly believe that is the Holy Spirit, and that is our Lord being like, listen, I'm using you, so gotta keep going. So I did. My second book is called Where's My Crown for Acting Like Everything is Fine? And it is royally surviving life's waiting periods. And it really, truly is about waiting periods. It was sparked for me by not only the 3+ years of going through infertility, that was a wait, then the 5 months, well, actually 6 months after my first daughter was born, that we were waiting until she was officially ours, because adoption doesn't stop when the baby's born and handed to you. And then in this next book, you do hear it's just a chapter or so about our third child, who is also adopted. The wait for him was even longer because the rules in Pennsylvania for adoption are horrible. If anybody's thinking of adopting from Pennsylvania, move the birth mother to New Jersey. Same. So
just a little tip.
Just a little tip. But I figured that all waiting periods are very much the same. And so what I need in self-help books, and this is a book of faith and self-help, and there's definitely a little bit of a memoir aspect to it too, because I tell stories. I need somebody to tell me what to do. I need somebody to be like, here are the steps. Here is how you are going to get out of this place the way that you feel, or here's how you're going to survive this period that you're in of loss or pain or whatever it is that you're going through. Or even if you're in that time of your life where everything's wonderful and you're so happy, but you're scared to death that something's going to happen. That's a waiting period too. So that's where this book came into play for me, because I dive into everything from how you're eating, how you're sleeping, the people that you have around you, how you organize your prayer time and things like that, which are tangible tools to help you survive life's waiting periods. And then I also pull in small stories from women everywhere who have been through things like the loss of a parent, cancer, all these big waiting periods that we will go through in our life, as well as the little ones.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, especially since you share so many of other people's stories and you've talked to so many people about this, what do you think is like a common mistake or misbelief that we have while we're waiting?
Trying to get out of it as soon as
Mm.
possible. Trying to, everybody says, I just got, just when this can be over, just when I can get to this point. And who was it? I'm blanking. One of the readers that I read all the time. There's no there. Once you get there, that's not a
Mm-hmm.
thing. There's going to be something else. And I say, once this wait is over, there's going to be another one. It might not be as big, but it's going to be another one. And then there's going to, and people, even right now, while we are on the I truly believe we're on the tail end of the worldwide pandemic, or at least how we've seen it, at least how it was last year at this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't be so quick to everything's going to be fine. It was like when the clock struck 2021, everybody thought, oh, life's going to be great. We finally got to 2021. We were waiting. And then what happened? No, there's other stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a horrible winter. It is another strand of the disease. There's always going to be something. And if you are constantly trying to get out of these waiting periods, you are not going to develop the tools you need to live within them to continue to have a as joyful life as possible, as purposeful life as possible when you're in the waiting periods. As soon as you can sit in that space and look around and figure out what you can learn from it, who you can serve, who can serve you. Maybe you're in a waiting period because somebody needs to serve you
Mm.
and you need to be there until that happens. Then you're going to be able to deal with the next one better.
Mm. That's so good. And it's so true because we do want to rush through things. And that's where we miss, something amazing that maybe God has for us while we're in that icky waiting period that we aren't liking so much.
Yep.
And if we don't create that space to watch for it and look for it and, search for those miracles, then we're going to miss out on so much. And like you said, you're going to get to that next point and realize, oh, wait, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
I got to
I'm
go somewhere else now.
still not prepared for this wait either. We'll bring something which with each experience you go through, it's kind of how they say as you get older, you have more wisdom. Like each experience you go through and each waiting period you go through, you will gain some knowledge and you'll gain something to be able to better equip you for the next one. I always tell people to envision you're in a waiting room, like literally in a waiting room, and you're looking at that door and you're like, if it can just open up and I can get to the other side of that door. And what I am telling people and our Lord is saying is, turn the chair around, sit in that waiting room, get comfortable, put up some artwork and look around and see what it is. Maybe there's a book there you need to read. Maybe there's somebody in that waiting room with you that
Mm-hmm.
needs to talk to you or you need to talk to them. But the more you're focused on that door and getting out there, the harder it's going to be. And also when you open that door and walk in, you're walking into another waiting room.
Yeah.
So don't be so excited. It's not like Shangri-La's on the other side.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, it's the same like with goal setting. It's like you set a goal, like that's not the end. As
Right.
soon as you accomplish that goal, I would hope you've got something else you're going to work for. Like,
Right.
yeah. Oh my gosh, amazing. I love your book and I had the privilege of, Kirsten asked me to look it over while it was in the editing process and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it was just so good." And I cried in a lot of it and it's so needed right now for so many people who are feeling that like I just want this to be over with because I do the same thing. I mean, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I don't like being told what to do.
Me
so,
either.
so I don't like the lockdown, although it is very free and open here in Tennessee. So I do appreciate that. But, I just don't like it and I want it to be over.
Right.
But yeah, it's just been an interesting season. And same thing. I go through the same stuff with my business. I just want to get to the next point. I just want to get to the next goal. I just want this to happen. And, but you're so right. It's just like if we aren't careful, we're going to miss out on something that we're supposed to get out of that waiting
Right.
time, waiting room.
And That's not to say, because I also don't like when people say things like, oh, everything happens for a reason, and oh, this is teaching you patience, and want to hit those people. Because when you're going through something that's very painful, and for a lot of people, this weight and COVID has been very, very painful, or right now my mother is dying. Like, that's a weight that's very, very, very painful. Like, I would never wish that on anybody, and I wouldn't say to somebody, oh, sitting there waiting for your mom to die, you're learning this. That's not what we're saying. But to allow yourself some space and some grace to not rush through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe as you get farther away from that trauma, you will figure out. And I had to do it to myself. It was funny. I was talking to my spiritual advisor, and he's like, how are you doing with this weight? And I was like, well, it turns out I wrote a book about this, so I should be doing pretty good. But I even had to go back and check myself. Well, am I doing the things that I told everybody else to do? Am
Mm-hmm.
I taking a deep breath and finding rest, and not planning, controlling to try and get through this? Am I taking a moment to sit and rest so that I can hear God a little bit better, and I can be better to myself? Am I sleeping the right way? Am I still continuing to be grateful? All of those things. Grace is a big one. Giving yourself grace to go through the feelings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important because especially as women, we can be so hard on ourselves. And especially once you've written a book about it. And it's like with me, with like my book and planner, it's like sometimes I'm like, same thing. Am I doing what I've told people they should be
Right.
doing? And then I beat myself up if I don't, and it's so important just to like be okay with where you are and give yourself that grace to know that like you're going to get through it. Take some time, listen to God. I think that's the hardest part is, we try to figure everything out ourselves, put the puzzle together when he's like, no, just chill. I got it.
Right. Yeah, his plan is always better, although that's always hard to like, but I don't see it. I don't
I
I
know.
don't see it. I want to see it. Could you give me the instruction manual, please?
Yes. Oh, so what do you think was, I mean, obviously we just talked about a really important lesson in the waiting, but did you have any like specific moments where you were just so overwhelmed with like understanding what God had you there for, waiting for?
I think, one of the one of the chapters is called Old Woman in the Shoe. And I think when you go through some traumas in life, and I would consider the miscarriages and infertility and then adoption was a trauma, um, that uh, you are always waiting for the next bad thing to happen. I mean, I'm in a place in my life where I am so tremendously blessed. I have 3 children when I thought I'd have none. I have a job that provides for my family when I went through some times of, job loss and uncertainty and things like that. I feel so overwhelmingly blessed. But even at times like that, sometimes you sit there and go, what's the next bad thing that's going to happen? And as opposed to trying to get away from that, which I think I did my entire life, is I tried to control my way and pray my way even and plan my way away from trauma,
Mm,
is to sit there, and when the proverbial shoe drops, be in it. Like, it is okay to be in that shoe drop, and to really um, once again, be in that waiting period with it and not be afraid of that. Fear is a big thing in our lives. And I'm a big fan of working through fear and not trying to get rid of fear, but to live on a path with fear. And
mm.
that for me was a big learning for me, is to not keep trying to get away from whatever's going to happen next, but be okay with it. Trust God, trust myself, and live in it.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we are in a constant state of fear and worry, not like what I love what you're saying to like learning to live with it. But if you're like letting it consume you
Right.
because you're scared of what's coming, what could be coming, but you don't know what it is, then that's robbing you of where you are. It's robbing you of joy that you could have in the moment. And, I'm the same way. I'm like a worrier by nature,
That's
or, it's like
awesome. Like, what
every,
is it?
I know.
It's so hard to stop worrying.
I know. And I mean, I do, I give it to God and I pray and I pray. But, it's just that like, well, everything's like so good. Like there's gotta be something bad around the corner, you know? I have taught myself to not think that way so much. But I don't know if it's just a woman thing or a human thing. I mean, it's obviously a human nature thing because it's technically, it's sinful to have that over our lives. So, anyways, I'm just rambling now.
My husband doesn't do it. Does your husband do it?
No, no, not at all.
What is that? Like he just doesn't worry. And I'm like, really? And maybe it's being the nurturing. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know. I definitely Ryan keeps me grounded if I'm starting to get into like a panic, worry mode situation. He always like grounds me, calms me down. I'm like, well, if he's not freaking out, it must be okay.
yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
I started something goodness, like a week ago. And again, as a parchment that I read, in giving my fears and my worries names.
Mm.
I have like Walter right now and Tina and Pablo. And so, and like there's certain ones like the worry over my parents, that is Pablo. I don't know how it became Pablo, but like the worry over having my parents and my family, the worry over work is Walter. We have this plan to go on a missions trip for 5 months in a couple of years. And the worry over, oh, how's that going to work for work? How is that, how are we going to provide? Like that's name is Sailor. So I have these worries and fears that now have names. And so once they have a name, they kind of get an image of a person or something tangible in my head. And then I ask Tina, Pablo, Walter, what can you teach me? What are you doing for me lately? So when you start to make friends with your worries and your problems, they automatically become less scary. And I'll tell you what, it has worked. Like it is such a great thing to do. Get out her planner and write down like your worries, give them a name, then write down questions. How can you teach me? What are you doing for me lately? How is it going today? Because when you start to communicate with them, they have less weight.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I've never thought of doing something that like that before. Well, and another thing is too, is sometimes just going there and asking yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Right.
Like in this situation, like you want to go on this missions trip. What's the absolute worst thing that could happen? Well, like maybe the worst thing is you lose your job. Like would that be the end of the world? Like,
Right.
Would you die? No. Like, it's like sometimes we make these things so much bigger in our heads than they really are. And when you go there and you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And you actually say it out loud, you're kind of like, oh, I guess it's not as big as what I was making it up to be.
Right. And there really isn't anything. The worst thing that could happen is being separated from our Lord, and that's never going to happen.
Exactly.
Like that's the worst thing. Because I've now at 43, I've had people who have lost family members, people have died. That's the worst, right? Death. That's the worst. But that's not even the worst. It really isn't, especially if you know our Heavenly Father. It's not the worst. So it's a good question.
Yeah, that's really good. I love talking to you.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. Okay, so do you have, I don't know. Do you have anything else that you feel like you want to encourage women with today? Because you seriously are like, honestly, like you are one of the most inspiring people I know. I'm always so inspired by you. I love everything about you. You're such a good wife. You're such a good mom. You're a hard worker. And you are really like, you can tell that you are living out your purpose. Like you said, like, how can you help faith come alive to people? Was that it? Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was saying it the right way, but yes, like you do. You always inspire me to like dive deeper into the word. You're always posting about your prayer time and your little prayer like room and stuff like that. Yeah.
A closet.
A closet.
I know. I'll just be having hard days and life stuff. And I once said, I really should have just been a nun because I am so happy in that little prayer room talking to Jesus. Like that's where I feel that was as soon as I walk out, I'm like, really?
Back to life.
Go sell it back. you on TV.
Uh,
I think the only other thing, and I really feel like it's all connected. So I don't even know if you know this. I went back to school. So I'm in school right now on top of everything because why not have more? Oh, and then I
I
decided
didn't.
not only would I go back to school, but I do the accelerated program. So as a
Of course you would.
year, I'm going to do it in 6 months. But I went to school for nutrition. I'm going to school for nutrition right now. And it's amazing to me how connected it all is. How you eat, how you sleep, how you move is 100% influenced by your relationships, your level of joy in your life, people around you, and things like that. But if I could give everybody a takeaway that they can actually work on right now when they turn this off, it is to put in priority how you're eating, how you're sleeping, and how you're moving, and just making sure that all three of those things you're focusing on, especially if you're going through a hard weight, especially if you're having a really hard time. It's about balance. I mean, right now, as we are honestly waiting for my mother to pass, I know I'm not going to be great about 100% about my eating. But what I can do is, because food is comfort, and I think that that's important for us to recognize that, and it's okay. But I know that I can make sure I'm hydrating more because I got to get some of these toxins that are being released from sorrow. I can make sure that I'm sleeping more, and as opposed to somebody saying, hey, you want to talk, I'm like, no, you know what, I'm going to bed at 7:30 tonight. My body needs rest. Sleeping is the one thing, my friends. If I could change everybody's one thing in everybody's life, it would be sleep. Make sure you're getting enough sleep because it really does heal you. And then moving. If you're going through a rough time right now, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. Doesn't have to be 45 minutes at a gym. Doesn't have to be that. Just move. Get the good endorphins going. So if you can focus a little bit more on those three things, always giving yourself grace. You might set a goal to go to the gym and not make it, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Try again the next day. You might set a goal to, eat a little bit better, and then you didn't. That's okay. Try again the next day, but having it in your mind.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. I was going to ask you what's a piece of advice for a new entrepreneur, but that's great advice
Oh,
because it's so true. If you have to invest in yourself first. Like
right.
you are your greatest asset as an entrepreneur because if something happens to you, boom, like where's your business? And so if you aren't getting enough sleep, I agree. Sleep absolutely hands down is so important and it's so neglected and like the right kind of sleep, quality sleep. And so I love that you brought that up. I did not know you were going to
Yeah,
school.
right. Started in January.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you very much. I have to do a bunch of projects, so maybe I will use you. I would love, I'll do a health history on Corie.
Yeah, sure.
Um, yeah, it's great. I'm enjoying it, learning a lot about myself. I think what were we talking about earlier, but it goes back to you learn so much about yourself, when you're trying to serve other people. And those of you who are writing books or starting businesses and you're trying to help others, you are helping yourself at the same time. And while being in school, and I'm learning the ultimate, I guess people who are going through this program, for me, I'll use it at work, I'll use it in writing books and things like that. But the ultimate goal for a lot of these people are to become dietitians and health coaches. And it's amazing how you coach yourself while you're going through it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been great, learn a lot and
That's
about.
awesome. So what's your goal with going to school? Do you want to write another book? Do you want to
Oh, I'm sure. I keep on again saying I'm not going to write another book, but like I've got an outline here and I've got like I'm writing things
Yeah.
down all the time. I'm giving myself some time to rest and some grace through this as
Mm-hmm.
well, because I will tend to do 17 things at once. I mean, full-time job, 3 kids, taking care of my mom and my stepdad. There's a lot going on in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in school, so I'm trying. I probably don't need to write a book this year,
Probably not.
but I continue to write. And it's kind of something that's always in there because it's a part of the way I serve others too, is by putting that out there, I think.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to like learn from you and
Yeah.
talk to you more about this. I'm definitely not like a health nut or anything, but I am so passionate about taking care of your body. And because so many moms, especially when our kids are little, we're just taking care of our kids.
I know.
We're running them back and forth to the doctor. We're just like running ourselves ragged and not taking care of ourselves, and we can't truly like live out our purpose if we're unhealthy, whether it's in our mind, whether it's in our soul, whether if it's actually physical, and like you said, it's also connected. And
It
with
is
the people you surround yourselves, like the energy, you know you like take in that energy that those people are putting off. And if it's negative energy, like your body is going to have a physical manifestation of that.
100%. I mean,
So,
the majority of diseases out there right now are preventable from things like changing the way your food is, and then also changing the way that you're thinking, and the constant stress and the cortisol levels. I mean, all the big diseases, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all those things are turned on by things like processed food and high stress. I mean,
mhm,
it's smoking, those things as well. But truly, if you can dial back to that. Oh, did I lose you?
I'm here.
Sorry, my phone's ringing. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you pay a little bit more attention to your body, and especially stress, and a
Mhm.
lot of stress can be prevented by eating better, you're going to be on the right foot.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, so exciting. Good for you, Kirsten. Okay, one last question, which you kind of, I mean, we know what your purpose is, but what does like living on purpose mean to you?
That's a good question. I love it. I think it is living on purpose, honoring the Lord, and honoring yourself, and giving yourself grace through everything. That's a big one for me. Not only because I named my daughter that, but it really is, because I have a hard time when I say my purpose is to make faith come alive in others, and that's part, and serving other people. I have a really hard time turning it around and serving myself.
Mm,
So, in order for you to live out your purpose, you have to show it towards yourself as well. So, I think that honoring your Lord, number one, but then honoring yourself through all of that. Does that make sense?
yeah, that's really good. And so important that we honor him. I mean, honestly, like I look at what's happening in our world right now, and I'm like, so much of the problems and the division is coming from a place of these people just they don't know God, or maybe they know God and don't have a relationship with him. Because so much of what I see, it's like it's so sad, because if you just follow like this book that he gave us and listen to
Number
him.
one best-selling book of all time. Just
Yes.
give it a try.
I know. And like when we do honor him and live within his plan for us, I mean, it doesn't take all the pain away and all the problems, but it just make things work right. They work the way they're supposed to work when we do that. So,
Don't you think that a lot of what we're seeing out there and what's been happening in the last year is, again, fear-based? People are afraid. This is all their reaction to
mhm, mhm,
one of the ways to sit alongside fear and not have it impact you is to know the Lord.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about the fear that's being instilled in people too. I just think it has a lot to do with people wanting to control. So I have other issues with that. Really don't watch the news or anything, because I refuse to add, extra fear where I don't need it. So yeah.
Or for the weather, noaa.gov for the weather, and that's about all. That's what
Yeah.
I. Is it
Yes.
going to be sunny? Is it going to
I
stop
know.
snowing?
Oh my gosh. I know. I think that's one of my hardest things about this area is it's been a very well, and I think it always is, it's a very gray,
That's hard.
like, fall and winter ish. And so, in Southern California,
That doesn't happen.
it does not happen.
No.
Like the gray is like in the morning, from
And
the
it brings
fog, and it goes away.
the marine layer.
Yeah,
You have a marine layer because the marine is close by.
I know.
No, you're
So,
right. That's a good thing too. I go into December going, it's gonna be fine this year. I'm gonna make it. And then by February, I want to slit my wrist. And I know that it's because of that. It's because of the darkness and the gray. And
mhm.
I need that. That's something else that I've definitely been learning in school. Take your vitamin D supplements.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking of getting one of those vitamin D lights, or I don't know.
I have
Something.
two sad lamps.
Do you? Sad lamps?
Yeah.
You should call them happy
I know
lamps.
that. Well, they're SAD, seasonal
Oh,
affective disorder. Isn't
I
that
know.
silly?
But they should be your happy lamps.
And I have like a big one in the prayer room where I can become a nun. I have a big one there every morning, and then I have one at work as well. I highly recommend
Okay.
put one in your podcast room.
Okay. I know I need to. I do. I have windows here, but half the time it's like gray out there. It's starting to look like spring. We're getting some flowers on the trees. So I am excited about that. But I really didn't realize how much it would affect me. Like it's just been really, really hard. And it's like when the sun comes out, I like walk outside and just like
Yeah.
look at the sun, like soak it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been so good talking to you, Kerstin. Thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you?
So I am, while you stopped watching the news, I kind of took a step back from Facebook a little bit for some of the same reasons. So I am very active on Instagram, Kerstin.Lindquist, KERSTIN.LINDQUIST on Instagram. And then I have a website, Kerstin-Lindquist.com or KirstenLindquist.org. Will both take you there.
Awesome. And your books are on your website?
Yeah, they're on my website. Okay. Also on Amazon, all those places. 5 months apart, and then Where's My Crown?
Yes. Okay. So I will link to all of that stuff in the show notes. You guys follow Kerstin. Oh, also she has a super fun account. Your sand everywhere, right?
Yes. So I had to create my own little like happy place, just like we were talking about, because I had to see sun and trees. So we have a family Instagram account that will one day be when we go on our mission trip. I'm thinking it's going to be really a lot there. It's called Sand Everywhere Family on Instagram, just like it sounds. And it is only pictures of the beach and water and boats and like destinations like that you want to go to. So if you ever just need some like good things for your eyes, go there.
Yes. I was so excited when you started that account.
I'm like, what beach do I want to go to today? And post.
Yes, I love it. Awesome. Well, I will link to all those in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Kerstin.
Love you. Thank
Love
you.
you. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. If you have not done so yet, please go subscribe, rate, and leave me a review on iTunes. And when you do, leave your Instagram handle so I can come say hello on Instagram. That is where I love to connect with my listeners, with my audience, with my readers. So make sure that you drop your Instagram handle when you leave that review. I will go ahead and drop all of Kerstin's links and information in the show notes. So be sure you check those out, follow those links, and don't forget to register for the Standout Brand Workshop. That is April 6th, but early bird pricing is ending this week. So make sure you do that right away. Save your seat and get that early bird pricing. And I look forward to seeing you in the workshop. And I will be back here next week with another amazing episode on The Purpose Babe Show.